Hello, colorful creators! Today we are going to be exploring the super fun medium of chalk pastels. This skill drill is not about making a frame-worthy finished product. It is simply about discovering something new. But something you should know about chalk pastels is that along with being a great medium to easily layer and correct mistakes, they're also a bit messy. So please take a moment to prepare your space. I recommend putting a plastic tablecloth down on the ground if you're on carpet, and to draw on top of a hard surface such as a table or a countertop. Something that's easily wiped off would be awesome. After that, grab your chalk pastels, some paper, a few paper towels, and let's get ready to discover and be creative.
Hello, colorful creators. It's time to get started. I have my supplies here. I have just a plain piece of white paper and a couple pieces of black paper as well. You can gather up just some different pieces that you have around your house, and I have my chalk pastels as well. So today in this video, we are going to be working on practicing some skills and techniques with chalk pastels. So go ahead and pick up one of your chalk pastels, and we're just going to kind of see what they can do. So kind of just start making some marks on your paper. I started with a yellow there, and I just kind of went back and forth drawing some marks, and then I worked on blending it in with my finger. So go ahead and just start practicing with some different colors and some different ways of drawing. With my stroke, I am literally just going back and forth in just straight motions, and now I am working on blending two different colors together. So you can try practicing blending different colors together, seeing the effect that you get whenever you do that. You can try practicing making little strokes or maybe long strokes, or building up color, layering it together. I am now just layering some chalk pastels on each other with that together, just to kind of blend that in. So with chalk pastels, it's a lot of blending and layering. So as you noticed, I started with one color of the yellow, just laying that down and blending that together. And then I've just been building up that color and layering on more colors on top of it. So you don't have to follow me exactly within this video. Remember, we're really just practicing and learning how to use chalk pastels before we can move on to the other project videos where we will be drawing something and creating a beautiful masterpiece. We must first know how to use the tools that we are working with. Whenever we know how to use the tools we're working with, we can create even better. So that's why we are practicing now. We're learning the different techniques for this, for chalk pastels, because how I create with chalk pastels, how I use them, make marks with them, blend with them, is going to be different than how I would use, say, pencils or colored pencils or regular crayons or even watercolor paints. It's all going to be different. So this is why we're practicing beforehand, and we're not trying to figure it out once we are actually creating our masterpiece. So just go ahead and experiment and practice during this time. So don't feel like you have to follow along exactly with how I am creating. You can maybe get some different ideas with how I am using my chalk pastels, but you don't have to follow me exactly. So just use this time to just explore chalk pastels and to really just practice and get familiar with them and comfortable with them. So I'm picking up this really bright blue now. I really like that bright color there. And I'm just going to be blending in, going from a darker blue into a lighter blue. And how I'm doing that is really just transitioning, picking up from that dark blue and then going lighter with every single blue chalk pastel application, and then I'll take my finger across it and blend it all together so it transitions and is blended really nicely. So it goes and it fades from this dark to this light look. So go ahead and practice doing that. Practice transitioning from one color to the next. That could be transitioning from a dark blue to a light blue, or maybe it's transitioning from a blue all the way to green, then to yellow. And I'm not really coloring in any specific pattern or way or shape, I guess. At this point, I'm really, again, just practicing blending, and you're just going to want to work and practice blending all throughout your paper until you have no more room. So I'm just filling up my paper, just practicing. I just used my finger to just blend that in. As you are working, if you notice that maybe your fingers are getting really dirty, you can keep a paper towel or maybe a napkin handy, and you can clean them off as you need to. So that's really helpful to keep in mind, especially as well if I am, say, blending in an area that has blue and then I go to an area that has yellow and I don't want that blue in the yellow. I'm going to want to either switch my fingers to make sure that I don't have a finger that has blue chalk pastel all over it, or I'm going to want to wash my hands before. So remember that as you are creating that, in order to keep your colors, if you're not wanting them blended together, that you have specific fingers for each color, or just wash your hands in between as well. And also you will notice that as you are drawing with your chalk pastels, that a lot of powder is created and comes off of your pastels. And if that happens, you want to make sure that you don't blow that, because otherwise it's going to go all over your table, all over your house, and I don't think that's going to make mom or dad very happy. So you are going to want to just gently tap that off underneath your paper or on the surface that you're working on, just to kind of clear that off, so that way it's not going everywhere. And I'm going to be starting to work on practicing some shading with a circle to kind of make it look like a ball. So one thing with shading that we can do to kind of create a 3D look is how we use our lights and our darks. So our lights colors being like a light yellow, and a dark color maybe being like an orange or a red or something like that. So depending on how we use those, how we draw with them, that will kind of make a 3D effect and give this more flat circle more of a shape and make it more look like a ball. So I first laid down that yellow all the way into a circle shape, and then I went in with this darker orange and kind of colored that on one concentrated side over there on the left to the bottom as well. So and then I'm going to be going through and blending that in. And as you can see, I had a little bit of blue left over on my finger. That's okay, because I'm just practicing. If I didn't want blue within the ball, because it kind of gave it a little bit of a green look, then I should have washed my hands or used a different finger. So keep that in mind as well. And I'm just layering on my colors and really working up to the dark colors on the lower half of this ball. And so I have the orange that I'm just laying in right here. And so within working with the shading of this ball here, my light source, so our light source would be, say, the sun or a light bulb or a lamp in a room. It would be the top right corner up there. And so that would be the lightest spot of the ball that I'm creating. And the darkest spot would be directly underneath that and on the opposite side of that. So you want to kind of think of the shadow. So if we think of a light, whenever we have a light source, it's always going to cast a shadow, and that's going to always be on the opposite side of it. So that's why I'm putting that lightest spot on the top right and the darker spot on the bottom left. And so that's going to help to give it some shape and make that bottom part the shadow, and kind of where it would be, say, resting on maybe the table or the ground as well. And also, you don't have to follow this exactly. This is just a good practice for if you wanted to practice some different shading and some different blending in with your chalk pastels. And it's just kind of fun. I always like creating these different kind of 3D circles on my paper. They're just kind of fun to create. And I'm just layering that in and darkening that. If you're working with chalk pastels and you want a area to be darker, then you're going to want to be doing some more layers. So say if I created something and I put some orange down in the very beginning and it wasn't quite vibrant enough, it didn't have quite as much color, or it wasn't as dark as what I would have liked it to be, I would just kind of blend that in and then do another layer, go over top of it again, draw over top of it again to give it even more color and to darken it up even more. And you can kind of see already that this ball, the circle here, is really starting to take shape on the paper and really kind of look like it is coming out in the kind of a 3D effect. And after I layered up quite a bit of that color, making it really dark on that bottom left side and kind of just fading it up all the way on the edges, I have this black here that I'm going to be adding just right on the very edge. And not too much, but just a little bit, just to really kind of darken that there. And again, in this video and with this practicing, we are not trying to get a finished masterpiece here. We're just trying to learn the skills so that way whenever we go to create our final project and our masterpiece, it will be exactly how we want it. So that's why it's really important to practice beforehand, but don't feel like you have to have a final piece of artwork to hang on your refrigerator or to show people. This is literally just a time to practice and to develop your skills. So if you have filled up your piece of paper, you can always grab another piece of paper if you would like. If you feel like you want to do some more practicing, you can go ahead and grab another piece of paper. You can draw some different things. Maybe you've been practicing some different shading things. You've been blending some colors. Maybe you've already drawn a ball here. Maybe you have already done all those things. Well, if you want to go ahead and try to practice some different things, but with an actual object, say maybe you want to draw your favorite butterfly or an ice cream cone or kind of the look of a sunset, you can practice learning chalk pastels by drawing those objects as well too. So if you want to practice with drawing those objects, you can totally go ahead and do that as well too. And so I'm going to be finished working on the white paper, and I'm going to be switching to the black paper here that I have. If you don't have black paper, that's totally fine as well. Maybe you've been working on the black paper this whole time. That's totally fine too. So I just wanted to kind of provide a couple different options for myself to practice just the look of them, because our projects will be on black paper. So it's nice to just practice on both of them and to see what these colors are going to look like on the black paper. I feel like coloring on the black paper with the chalk pastels makes the colors stand out even more and even brighter. So I just went in with a light blue color and kind of concentrated it up, and then kind of now just fading it down towards the bottom of this paper here. And I'm going to be layering in some more colors. So really practice with that, layering in some more colors. So even though I have this blue color that I put in first, that blue had a little bit more of a green look to it. And this blue that I just layered in over top of it is a little bit more of a pale blue rather than a turquoise green blue. and I'm just layering that in. And if you notice whenever you first put a layer in of color that maybe you have a little bit of the paper showing through, whether you're working on white paper or black paper, you can kind of see it through. Blend it in with your finger, and then if you still have a little bit of that showing through, build up and put another layer on over top of that, and that's going to really help to make that color brighter and intensify it a lot more. And I'm working in different motions as well. I am doing back and forth strokes, so going from left to right, almost covering the whole section of the paper, and then I'm kind of working in these little circular motions, kind of like I'm drawing an oval over and over and over and over again. So practice doing different motions here with your chalk pastels, and maybe drawing some curly swirly lines, or maybe drawing some straight lines, some zigzags. Practice, all of those different things just to get a feel and an idea to see, okay, what is it that chalk pastels can create? What happens if I draw like this? What happens if I blend these colors together? So art is a great place to experiment, and it's kind of like a little science experiment with every single different art medium that you work with. So all of it is just discovering what your tools can do, what you can create with them, and getting really creative and exploring how to use them. So don't be afraid, again, of messing up. Don't feel like, oh no, I didn't create it how I wanted it to, or I thought if I drew like this, it would look like this. This is the time to learn exactly how to use your chalk pastels, and you want to figure those things out now rather than later whenever you're working on it in your project. So experiment, try all the different things. Maybe you're wondering, what happens if I layer on orange with blue together? Or maybe what happens if I draw straight lines, but then I put curly lines on over top of it? What happens if I blend all the colors together? This is a time for you to try it out. Try out all the different things. Maybe your mind is wondering some other things that I didn't mention. So try out all of those different things and just see what happens whenever you create in the different ways. And so I'm doing some little circle motions here with this bright purple color, and then some back and forth motions here. You can also use a paper towel or a napkin to help blend in your chalk pastels as well, or even a Q-tip. So keep that in mind if you want to experiment with that. If you have those nearby, you can go ahead and pick those up and try experimenting with your paper towel, a napkin, or a Q-tip. Those are just a couple fun ways that you can create something different. You can lay your chalk pastel on its side and you can drag it across your paper like that. Or you can use the edge of it and the pointy tip of it to draw more exact strokes on your paper. You can layer on dark to light or light to dark. So try all the different things in this time. This is really the time to experiment and to practice, so that way we are ready to go whenever we start our project. So keep practicing until you feel comfortable. If you feel ready and confident within your chalk pastel skills, we can go ahead and get started on our project. Thanks, guys.